All right, so practically, we tell people that poverty is man-made. When you look at the earth, you would observe that the earth is full of so much goodness, so much pleasantness. God created this world so beautifully, so beautifully. Every nation under heaven that you go to, you would see the touch of God's wisdom, God's creativity, God's goodness everywhere. But then again, when you look at some places, you would observe so much poverty, lack, penury, and all that. So some people have looked at this whole situation, and it looks like a paradox. Okay, the earth full of the goodness of God, then some people are suffering. But I tell people, ideally and practically, anywhere you see lack, penury, poverty, they are not God-made, they are man-made. And a lot of the cause of such experiences or occurrences, as the case may be, they are all rooted in knowledge, the kind of education that the people are exposed to. See, education is powerful. Education is powerful. The orientation that people have about life, the orientation that people have about things, the orientation that people have about the world around them is very key. If you have grown up in a place where poverty is the order of the day, that environment already have conditioned you to reproduce that experience in life. It doesn't matter where you go to, because your environment, they teach you. The nature teaches you. The environment teaches you. The people who are close to you, they teach you. Even if they don't have to do that verbally, everything they do, their activity, their actions, their perceptions of life, their orientation, all these things, they teach you. So when you want to come out of poverty, when you want to come out of lack, you have to understand that there is the natural aspect of it, and then there is a supernatural. There is a natural principles. Like I said, all these things are rooted in knowledge. There are natural principles, and then there are the supernatural principles. And you would have to work with the two. You have to go with the two. Don't just base on the natural principles, because don't forget, I have always thought that the greatest challenges that people face in life, they are going to be spiritual. Not just mental, not just emotional, not just physical. The greater challenges that people face in life are spiritual. So if you go about with just the natural principles, you could confront certain situations or challenges that are spiritual. And if you don't understand the spiritual principles, that means you could become a victim. Right? So let's get down to the natural principles. The first is the principle of productivity. In most places where you see lack and poverty and penury and all those negative experiences, you would also observe that their orientation about life is consumption. They are programmed towards reception instead of giving. Why? That Those are the kind of orientations that perpetuate poverty and lack. So when you want to come out of such circumstances or such situations, the first place to start is productivity, the principle of productivity. And productivity is simple. It means that you would have to turn your time, your energy, your ideas, and available resources into products or services that solve a human problem. This is the foundation. In the natural principles of wealth, this is the foundation. The foundation is the principle of productivity. That's the foundation. If you start there, then the journey is a lot easier. Because you have to begin with being productive. Being productivity conscious against being consumption conscious. If all you think about is how do I get, how do I consume, and there are no meaningful ways of contribution into the society, then you are in the path of the poor. So, first principle of productivity. It means that you would have to turn your time. Every one of us, God is amazing. Every one of us, we have equal number of time in a day. There's no one that has 25 hours in a day. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. So you're turning your time, your energy, the ideas that come to you. Every one of us will receive ideas. Ideas are seeds of solutions. It comes to everyone. Now, when you look at the subject of God's goodness, that's what we're talking about. If anyone lacks idea, he should ask God. And God gives ideas without counting faults. This is awesome. When God looks at the problems in society, the challenges, the human needs, and those needs are to be solved, God does not mind giving that idea to anybody who is willing to receive it. Whether this person likes him or doesn't like him, whether this person knows him or doesn't know him. That is the concept of God's goodness. God makes rain to fall on both those who are saying he does not exist. Right? We have atheists, those who say God does not exist, but God still makes rain to fall where they are. That's the concept of goodness. God's goodness is benevolence directed towards a people or a person unconditionally. And this is expressed in goodwill. This is expressed in kindness. This is expressed in benevolence. That's the concept of God's goodness. So when we say that God is good, God is disposed towards being kind without conditions. So every one of us, we have ideas. Ideas are seeds of solution. And every one of us, it doesn't matter where you are in this world, there are available resources. Available resources. There may be things that are not available to you, but there are things that are available to you. Every one of us have things that are at our disposal, and they are resources. So your ability or willingness, because really in life, this thing have to do with compassion and diligence. That's really what it is. You know, one time I read of the parable of the talents in the Bible. I would always talk about the Bible because the Bible is my reference material. The parable This master, he was going on a journey, and then he distributed talents to his servants. And the scripture says that he gave every one of them talents according to their ability. That means this master weighed them. He weighed them, and he knew that this person is going to give one talent. That's the measure of gold that he could handle. So he gave one talent, he gave the other 2, then he gave the other 5. Amazing. The one he gave 5 put the 5 talents to work. In fact, the Bible actually says he traded with the 5. In other words, he went to business. He did business with the 5 talent that had been given to him. Talent is a measure of gold. So he went and traded with it and got extra 5. The guy that was given 2 also invested or traded with the 2 talent that he was given, and then he got extra 2. The guy that was given 1, now you can now understand why the master gave him 1, because capacity is proven. This guy, the master could have just decided not to give him anything, because over time he has not demonstrated capacity, and the master cannot afford to waste his measure of gold, because talent is a measure of gold. And he gave this guy 1. Guess what this guy did? He took the talent, dug the ground, and put the gold there. He put the gold there, and when the master returns, he said, well, master, I know that you're a very wicked person. You like to reap where you not so you want to use me. You want to use me with this talent. I will labor everything, and then you reap the profits. I kept the gold the same way you gave it to me, and now that you want it back, look at your gold. Have it. The master said that servant who could not do business with the 1 talent he gave him, that servant was wicked and lazy. So I thought, what's the relationship between hiding gold in the ground and wickedness and laziness? If he said laziness, I would have said, well, possibly the guy is lazy. But add wickedness to it. Why? Because for you to trade, for you to do business, you require a measure of compassion. There's a problem everywhere. There are problems everywhere. Problems everywhere. Some people need water, some people need food, some people need clothing, some people need shelter, some people need entertainment. So there are problems everywhere. There are needs everywhere. Everywhere you look around, there are needs. So just a little compassion should have made this man to say, wow, let me buy something that can meet a need and people can pay me for it. That's little compassion. And then what it would take him to do that would just be diligence, just a little hard work. So if he had combined the hard work and the compassion, he would have made profit. But the master said, even if you didn't even want to do any kind of business, why don't you give this money to the bank? At least I'll get an interest. But no, this guy buried the measure of gold. See, your consciousness is important. Your consciousness is important. So the foundational principle is the principle of productivity. Principle of productivity. You have to always think about productivity, especially with the resources available to you. Don't say, I don't have as much resources as this person. Start with where you are, because where you are is a test for a greater level. The resources you have available to you right now, they are a reflection of your present capacity. Truth. They're a reflection of your present capacity. Instead of you saying, "Oh, I wish I was this person. I wish I had like this person," you don't have an idea how much diligence, how much compassion that this person have showed in the past that have reaped this capacity that you currently see, this result that you currently see. So stop wasting your time over that. Look at the time that you have at your disposal. Look at the energy that you have. Look at the ideas that are available to you. Look at the resources that are available to you at the moment. Turn those ideas, package them as a product, package them as a service. They can solve a human need, they can solve a problem. And there's a programming in the earth. Same way there's a programming in the spirit realm. A lot of times when people say the universe will favor you, that's not, they don't understand it. That stuff they call the activities of the universe is God's programming. Somebody says, "Oh, the universe favored the guy." There's nothing like that. There's nothing like the universe favored the guy. That's a product of God's programming. Same way, there's a programming that God made in the earth, that if you plant a seed, the earth has been programmed in such a way to cause that seed to germinate until you have a harvest. It's a programming. It is a divine programming. The same way you have a divine programming in the earth, that's the way you have a divine programming in the universe, in the spirit realm. If you constantly have products or services that solve problems, you would always have money. So money is a reward for solving problems. Money is a reward for offering solutions. Money is a reward for meeting needs. So that is where to start. You start out with productivity. So the first phase, the first principle, productivity.